Well, I've already reviewed the first movie. I might as well take a look at the sequels that came afterwards. Anyway, this is my review of Prehysteria 2. Now, if you may recall my review of the first movie, chances are you might remember that I had a hard time trying to find a copy of this movie at my local Blockbuster. However, the only thing I can find related to the first movie are the sequels that came afterwards. But come on, who really wants to watch the sequels before watching the movie that started it all? But now that I've finally gotten the chance to see the first movie in its entirety, I am more than prepared to tackle the two sequels. Oh, and if you were wondering if Ello Dicky Poo was ever going to co-review in one of these videos, well...
Nope, hell no. You're on your own, buddy.
Let's just say that the first movie left a bad taste in his mouth. However, I didn't see the first movie to be all that bad. There are some qualities that made this movie enjoyable to sit through, but the acting, dialogue, and overall execution of this movie makes it feel like one of those generically bad kids movies that you'll most likely see on the Disney Channel. So yeah, needless to say, there's always going to be room for improvement. But are the sequels able to fulfill that promise? Well, that's what we're here to find out today. So without further delay, this is Prehysteria 2. Alright, in case you were one of the few people who were invested in the Taylor family and were expecting their return, chances are you're going to be disappointed with this sequel, because this movie has nothing to do with the Taylor family at all. Instead, we're introduced to this old man who agrees to take care of the baby dinosaurs while the Taylors are away on vacation. However, the dinosaurs seem to be a little bit too much for the old man to handle, as the Brachiosaurus knocks off the old man's glasses, which strangely teleported a few feet away from where the glasses dropped off his face. The dinosaurs make their way to a nearby shed where they're able to enjoy a plentiful amount of raisins. Or their animatronic stunt doubles are, at least. Yeah, that's probably one of the things that drastically downgraded as the series went on. The animatronic dinosaurs, which were the biggest highlight in the first movie, are one of the many problems that I have with this one. While there are some snippets of stop-motion animation in this movie, most of it is leftover footage that was unused from the last movie, and the bulk of the special effects used for the sequel are just so horrible. I understand that the sequel may not have a bigger budget than the first movie, but come on, at least hide the rod and cables that are in the backs of the dinosaurs. It's like they didn't even try. But anyway, the dinosaurs find themselves inside of a wooden crate as two co-workers start shoveling in the raisins without noticing the dinosaurs in the crate at all. I'm guessing the old man isn't the only one who needs glasses, because how in the world are you able to not see that within first glance? Seriously, they're like, what? The size of a chihuahua and they're sticking out like a sore thumb? Who knows? But hey, one thing is definitely for certain. I have a pretty good feeling that OSHA's gonna have a field day with this one. So as the dinosaurs are being shipped over to Sunmaid, we're introduced to a colorful cast of characters who live in a mansion owned by a wealthy business tycoon. These characters consist of an Italian gardener who's more obsessed with his flowers, almost to the point of being in love with them, an Asian chef whose only gimmick is that he sings food-related parodies that are so poorly written that it makes MC Swigga sound like Weird Al Yankovic, and the nanny maid? Oh, whatever. All you need to know about her is that she serves to be the main antagonist to go up against the billionaire's son, Brendan. I don't know what it is about this kid, but I totally dig his style. You could say that he looks like another certain person that dresses all up in black and wears sunglasses. As Brandon gets himself into some mischief, the nanny maid, whatever she is, punishes him by locking him up in his room, full of toys and video games to entertain himself with. Doesn't sound like that much of a punishment to me, but ooh, I bet that will teach him a darn good lesson. So as Brandon escapes, he comes across a group of kids who look less like they're in a major motion picture and more like they're in a junior play production of West Side Story. It's funny because he's rich. Wait, why is that such a bad thing to make fun of him for again? No, seriously, why are these kids making fun of him for something minuscule as being rich? In any other kid's movie, they would have pretended to be his friends so they could take advantage of him, but apparently in this universe, kids make fun of people with large incomes? Seriously, I'm still trying to get a hold of that. So as Brendan is being chased by the bullies, he comes across a streetwise train worker named Naomi who saves Brandon by knocking one of the bullies out.
Say howdy. She just got kissed on the tush by the king.
They find the baby dinosaurs inside the crate and they immediately call dibs on them. And instead of questioning why he wants to pay that much for a specific crate of raisins, he gives him the crate of raisins anyway. As soon as Brandon gets the package delivered to his house, he immediately hides the baby dinosaurs inside of his room when all of a sudden the old lady's allergies start to act up. It's really never made clear what triggers her allergies per se, but it mostly boils down to any living animal inside of the house. Especially animals that died millions of years ago and haven't been clinically proven to cause allergies, but I'm not a doctor, so I'll let this little nitpick slide. However, what I can't let slide is this physically impossible lock-picking trick that Elvis is able to do with his tail. Yeah, never mind the fact that his tail is too big to fit inside of a tiny little keyhole to begin with. I'm more surprised at the fact that his tail came out in one piece instead of looking like a bloody mangled mess. So the old lady grows a little suspicious that Brandon might be hiding something that may have to do with her allergies, but Brandon denies her allegation of carrying live animals into the house. She immediately spots the baby dinosaurs as he explains that they're just remote-controlled toys that you can make dance. Okay, so not only can Elvis lockpick a door using his tail, but he's able to move his body in physically impossible positions? You know, something tells me that Elvis may have the same powers as Plastic Man. So, with the old lady's suspicions being put to rest, you will probably think that Brandon would do a better job at consistently hiding these dinosaurs in plain view, right? Nope, because in the very next scene, he brings the Brachiosaurus to the dinner table to show his dad what he had found. Oh yeah, because that is a surefire way of getting yourself caught. And I know that he brought it out when the old lady left the dining room, but what are the chances of her catching him in the act when she eventually comes back into the room and her allergies start acting up again? And furthermore, how does Brandon expect his father to react to all this? Well, that answers my question. And just when you thought that the first movie had exhausted all their 90s kids movies cliches into one movie, the sequel brings up another classic trope found in every other kids movie, the workaholic parent who never has time to spend with their children. Now, this is the kind of trope that could either make or break a movie depending how well you execute it. While it can work towards the movie's advantage, like in Sam Raimi's first Spider-Man movie, it can also backfire on the movie very disastrously, like in A Troll in Central Park. The way this movie executes it, however, falls slightly into the latter side of the camp. While the dinner scene was a perfect way of showing that the father is too busy with his work life to spend time with his son, the other scenes that follow really hammer in the message of the movie, and it just feels so forced at times. For example, when Naomi comes over to his house and starts jumping on the trampoline, she invites him to jump on the trampoline with her, but he refuses. She then responds with, which he then explains that his father buys all this stuff for him to make up for not spending time with him. And to make the message even more shoehorned in than it already is, the father throws his phone against the wall, symbolizing that he will no longer be distracted by his work. That is, until his money dries up and he files for unemployment. But hey, who cares if you have bills to pay and mouths to feed? As long as you're spending time with your family, that's all that matters, right? I know it's a kid's movie, and I shouldn't expect the movie to accurately portray the struggles of being an adult, but I'm sorry, my suspension of disbelief can only handle so much, and so far, this movie pushes my limit. Anyway, the old lady calls a couple of exterminators since she believes that there are rats inside the house that are causing her to have an allergic reaction, but the two exterminators suspect that there might be ghosts in the house as they proceed to inspect the entire building just to make sure. Meanwhile, the kids hide the baby dinosaurs in a nearby room as they leave behind a trail of raisins for the exterminators to find them. Admittedly, this is the only scene in the movie that got a chuckle out of me. Which is very unfortunate because the rest of the comedy in this movie just relies mostly on unfunny slapstick humor. Did I mention that this movie was made in the early 90s? Of course I did. Cue in the Home Alone style booby traps.
Who are you gonna call? Someone else.
So after scaring off the exterminators, they come across an old train set that belonged to Brendan's father ever since he was a little kid. And seeing that his father's birthday just so happens to be coming up very soon, he takes the opportunity to fix up the old train set to surprise his father in addition to making him proud of him. And this is the point of the movie where the plot completely goes off the rails. While I do like the concept of Brendan trying to rekindle his relationship with his father, the movie has way too many subplots to keep up with that cramming another one into the mix seems a bit like overkill, especially when the third act of the movie becomes nothing more than a scavenger hunt to find all the tools they needed for this project. Speaking of which, they get the first item on the list, which is a pair of gardening shears, by placing a radio underneath a tree and seducing the gardener by acting like the tree. It's about as creepy and uncomfortable as you may think.
I'm Chris Hansen with Dateline NBC.
My thoughts exactly. Anyway, Brandon gets the second item on their list by singing a duet with the Asian chef. And aside from being a subpar actor, his singing skills are not that great either.
It was dreadful. No, really dreadful. And I'm saying that to be kind because you will never, ever, ever have a career in singing.
No more songs. I think we're good for now. Though, a part of me is very curious of what that parody song would have sounded like. Probably something like this. Boil, sketty, boil. Chicken Alfredo. Boil, sketty, boil. Shred some mozzarella down. Boil, sketty, boil. So after getting the first two items on the list, they sneak into the old lady's room to get the last item to complete their train set. But it turns out that it's easier said than done, as the old lady walks into the room while taking off her wig to reveal something rather disturbing. Well, that was disturbing. The two get caught by the old lady as she suspects that the little girl is a thief who's only friends with Brendan because he has expensive things to steal. Naomi tries to explain to the old lady that they need the bell for his dad's birthday surprise, but she's not buying it one bit. Oh my god, this cliche. So, not only does this movie have the workaholic parent cliche, but they decide to throw another classic trope into the mix. The two friends splitting up after a misunderstanding, and it looks like they're not going to be friends anymore, even though it's obvious they're going to be back together again, and blah 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 blah. We get the picture from there. Just like with the last cliche that I mentioned earlier, this one felt incredibly forced, even more so than the last one. Mainly because this could have been easily resolved without any of this pointless drama. Now sure, she did tell the old lady to search his bags in case she didn't believe her, but even if Elvis was in the backpack, Brendan could have easily whipped out the other stuff they've been collecting all this time instead of her going for his backpack like it was a TSA. But it doesn't make that much of a difference now because she finally found out Brendan's dirty little secrets. So as the old lady starts hitting everything else but the dinosaurs, Brendan tries to stop her by fighting her to the death.
Use your aggressive feelings, boy. Let the hate flow through you.
So Brendan tries to hold off the old lady until he's able to take the dinosaurs to a safer place. But apparently this old lady is stronger than what Brendan gives her credit for, as she's able to snap a cue stick in half while busting down the doors. Something tells me that she's probably taken steroids in addition to her one-a-day vitamins. But of course, this chase scene doesn't last very long as it abruptly comes to an anticlimactic end. She takes the dinosaurs away from Brendan as she calls the exterminators to get rid of them, even though this conflict would have been resolved if Brendan calmly explained that the dinosaurs were someone else's and that he would respect her wishes by taking them away from her so she won't have any more allergies. But hey, why settle your differences in a calm and reasonable manner when you can just gas your enemies instead? So as the Asian chef and the Italian gardener hold off the two exterminators, the kids make a break for it, only to return back inside of the house in the very next scene. Well, that was incredibly pointless. Also, how were they able to sneak back into the house without the old lady knowing about it? Furthermore, wouldn't the old lady's allergies be acting up since the two kids brought back the dinosaurs to the house knowing good and well that the old lady was going to capture them anyway? Oh, and how come the dad is more than accepting that these baby dinosaurs are real, even though he mistook one of them as a toy in an earlier scene? You know what? I'm just gonna wrap this up. The dinosaurs are returned to the rightful owners, the dad reconnects with his son, and everyone lives happily ever after, except for the parents who had to watch this movie alongside their kids. This movie sucks. Say what you want about the first Prehysteria movie, but at least I could tell that they were putting some effort into this one. Sure, it may not be a perfect movie by Hollywood movie standards, but at the very least, it had some charm to it. This movie, on the other hand, is a complete step backwards from what the original accomplished. The story's plot is all over the place. The message is more hand-fisted than something that you will see in a Lifetime original movie, and even the special effects are so bad and atrocious that it makes Chuck E. Cheese animatronics look like something out of Jim Henson's Creature Shop. If you have little bitty kids, I guess it's perfectly innocent enough for them to watch alone. It is a lot tamer than the first movie after all.
Leave him alone, he's horny.
But then again, that's not saying much. The biggest disappointment that I have about this sequel is that there were so many good stories that you could have told that could have potentially became the best sequel to Prehysteria ever. Seriously, I can think of so many stories right off the top of my head. For example, have it start off where the first one ended, have the Taylor family move cross-country to get away from the crazy museum curator, and from that point on, have the dinosaurs get into wacky hijinks while the family tries to hide the dinosaurs from the public eye. That would have been perfect if they would have gone in that direction, but unfortunately, they didn't. However, the good news is that there is still one more sequel left to go, so who knows? Maybe they might improve upon this one, right? Right? Oh well, that's for another video for another day. Anyway guys, thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time. Take care.